Man, I thought this show was over with. If you haven't seen Alice in Borderland, it's essentially a Japanese version of Squid Game. The main difference being that in Alice in Borderland, you aren't playing for money. In Alice in Borderland, people die or are near death and end up in purgatory where you play games. If you win the games, you get the option of going back to your old life. If you die in the games, you're just dead. You go to the afterlife, the abyss, the void, whatever the next life is or the afterlife is. But then in season 2, a bunch of our main characters survive and decide they want to go back to their real life in Japan. Besides cameos, the only two characters we really have returning to the show are going to be Arisu and Usagi. About 5 years have passed since they returned to their lives in Japan. They are now married to one another. Arisu has got a new job and Usagi is pregnant with their first child and doesn't know it yet. Usagi is still mourning the death of her father, and she's tricked by a professor named Ryuji into going back into the Borderlands. When his wife's life hanging in the balance, Arisu decides to go back into the Borderland, play the games all over again, and rescue his wife. So the highlight of the season for me was definitely watching the games. I thought the games were very innovative and creative. I actually prefer these games over the games I saw in season 3 of Squid Game. It was so entertaining for me, instead of watching over 3 or 4 days like I originally planned, I actually watched it in one day. But that's where the compliments end for me. I'm a fan of Alice in Wonderland. I really like season 1 and season 2. But I did not at all like the storyline of season 3. With the plot they presented in season 3, I think they could have just let the story end in season 2. So basically the whole reason Arisu and Usagi end up back in the Borderland is one of the former players who decided to become a citizen is bored and has a little bit of obsession with Arisu and he wants him playing the games again. And I thought that as a premise was just very weak. It just seemed like a hell of a lot of trouble to go through for one man who you just find entertaining. And the citizen wants Arisu to win and stay in the Borderland. Okay, so how does that work exactly? If I'm not mistaken, if Arisu wins and he decides to become a citizen, won't he become another game master like you? So now that he's a game master, how would he continue to entertain you? And wouldn't he just be your bitter enemy knowing that you had his wife killed? As much as I thought the games were fun and very entertaining, also I thought they were very unrealistic. I do not believe a man paralyzed and in a wheelchair is going to be dodging all those lasers like Ryuji was. And despite how strong of a climber Usagi is, I do not believe this petite small woman could carry a paralyzed man up a tower. Then I had another question. How did y'all get all those people back in purgatory again? Okay, I understand why Arisu, Usagi, and Ryuji are there. But you got dozens and dozens of other people who already played the game before, if not hundreds, back in the game again. So you telling me all these young, able-bodied people who had a near-death experience had another near-death experience? And I thought the love connection between Ryuji and Usagi was forced. Arisu finally catches up with Usagi, and Arisu rightfully so wants to whoop Ryuji's ass. And Usagi not only stops Arisu, but goes out her way to defend Ryuji. Like, what? So you supposed to be happily married to Arisu, but you're gonna defend a man who lied to you, tricked you, and poisoned you. In the very first game, you had to tell him to stop killing people by using them as a shield in the laser game. And I don't recall the part you were talking about that he helped save your life in the game. It looked like you was helping him more than anything else. Also wish shows would stop with these big setups that never pay off. Squid Game Season 3 did the exact same thing and it sucked when they did it too. The whole reason Usagi got him dragged back into this world because she can't get over the death of her father. In the last episode, she finally meets her father again and gets a chance to talk to him. She gives him a hug, he says, "I love you and I want you to live," and that's it. So we had to risk our lives and almost die multiple times just so you could hug your daddy again? There was no conversation we had, not even a what happened. Why did you leave me all alone, Dad? Nothing. You just a hug and you were good to go. But we end the season with a hint that there will be a season 4 of the show. In America, and after season 3, I'm honestly not all that excited for it. I probably will watch though. I'm gonna give Alice in Borderland season 3 a 5 out of 10. Like I said, I do think the first 2 seasons are pretty good. I just don't think season 3 lived up to the first 2 seasons and was really necessary. This is another series review from he who knows nothing, smartest man in the world. Later.